Thank you all for having me here today, and thank you, Deb, for the invite. I'm Nguyen. I'm with Pioneer, and you know, I think one of the big pieces for me was I'm relatively new to ag, so I have a confession to make. So that's one of the big pieces for me here. I came from the pharmaceutical side, really doing communications on the pharma end before I came to Pioneer. So I have some random notes here for us. But today I wanted to share a little bit about what we're doing at Pioneer in terms of social media, and some of the things we'll be doing moving forward as well. But for me, the other piece is that we know social is challenging, right? So getting started is one thing. But I think the other piece of it is, how do we keep it sustained? How do we keep going? How do we stay motivated and energized? And so hopefully I have a few tips to share with you today about that as well. Last week I was at the Iowa Women in Ag Conference, and that was a really fun conference to be at. I recognize a few faces in the room. But during that conference, and I was prepping for this, you know, I needed a little bit of inspiration. I didn't know where to go. So where does a social media geek go for some inspiration? Anybody?
Twitter.
Pinterest is where I headed. Yeah, so I was on Pinterest. So I flipped on Pinterest, checked out the new app on iPad. If you haven't checked it out, you should. And I was flipping through, and I just kept flipping and flipping and flipping, and all of a sudden I stopped because I saw a quote that really spoke out to me, and it just made me pause. And the quote read, it was from Albert Einstein, and it read, "I have no special talents. I'm only passionately curious." And for me, that really spoke out because, you know, that was the reason why I came to Pioneer a year ago. That's the reason why I even found social media. You know, you don't learn social media in the classroom, right? I didn't. And so what I needed to do was I needed to have something that kept me going. And so being passionately curious is also the same reason why each and every single one of us is in this room today. We're curious about what this platform means and how we can use it for agriculture. So at Pioneer, you know, you probably have heard our long look focus of right product, right acre. It's something that we bleed and we believe wholeheartedly. And for me, you know, that's exactly what social is, right? So for social media, has always been a philosophy. It's not about the media, it's about the people. So as I thought about social, I kept going, it's about being authentic. It's about being genuine. It's about having a two-way dialogue. It's about ultimately being real. And that's what it really is for us, too. So recognizing being new in an organization, so I started about a year ago at Pioneer, and I walked in the door and I had the chance to meet some really amazing people. And I met with our IT team, our sales team, our marketing team, our communications team, and the more and more I talked to folks, the more and more I was really blown away. And maybe it's because, you know, I thought about, hey, how am I going to sell drugs? And now I got to say, hey, how do we feed the world, right? And so I had a chance to really talk to our agronomists. And what I realized is that, you know, our reps and our agronomists in the field were able to share and have real one-on-one relationships, sharing valuable resources through the relationships they were having. And so I thought to myself, well, if we're doing it in person, why couldn't we do that online, right? So for me, what I started to think through was, okay, so how do we transfer the face-to-face and amplify it using online tools? And so what we did was we have 3 levels of social media engagement at Pioneer. We've got our global perspective level, where we're sharing things that, you know, could be agronomy information that's relevant to you in Iowa, but it could be the same relevancy that might be worthwhile for you if you lived in South Africa. We also had our second level, which is more regional focused, and regionally speaking, meaning that if you're in the Midwest, so if you're in our central business unit, you're able to actually get information from your folks that are in that business unit. And then the other piece is that how do we bring that even closer to home? Because I think that's a little bit about how do you make it more relevant and localized? So you've got globalized content all the way to hyper-localized content. So that's where our agronomists came in. So we enlisted agronomists all across our U.S. specifically, and we're going to be launching some in Canada. We've got some folks in Brazil as well. But how are they able to share that type of agronomic information as they're out in the field doing and scouting, right? So what we do is we train them up, taught them how to use these tools, armed them with the tools to do it, and sent them on their merry way. Not quite. Well, you know, we still do training now. But as we're thinking about that and being able to share really local content, it really started to change and shape how we saw social as an organization. And hopefully, at the end of the day, what we started to realize was we should be reactionary in terms of what you are sharing and what you like of our content. So our content is people-driven rather than platform-driven, right? So we've got the big 3 or big 4, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. But at the end of the day, the content that you share and that you're interested in is the content that we want to continue sharing more of. And I think that's a big piece for the type of content I share on my personal platforms. And it's the same type of content that will be relevant to you in terms of use the analytics that's given to you. Social is a really rare opportunity to have real-time feedback. So take that and be able to let that drive the content you're sharing. So that's a lot of work, right? Social's a lot of work to do. It's a lot of time. People say it's free, and I say, I didn't realize your time was free. But for me, the biggest piece is, how do we keep that going? How do we stay sustained? How do we stay energized? And so as I walked along my social media journey and I'm here today with you, I learned a few things along the way, and I'm hoping that will be valuable to you as well. So here are my 5 tips that might be helpful. So the first one is, really, I think the biggest component is identify what your goals are. Val said it best. And I think the biggest piece is that identify what are the things you want to do. Is it to connect? Is it to be a voice for agriculture? Is it to have an opportunity to share more about your family, to share recipes, whatever it might be? Have a clear vision and be intentional about that vision. I think those are really critical components. So the second piece is listen. I think sometimes that can be a very difficult thing to do, but yet it really is the no-brainer thing to do, right? So understand what the community is saying, understand what's going on, be part of Ag Chat, be a part of Hay Talk, be a part of all the different discussions that are out there, be a part of discussions like the one that's here today. And those are such a rare opportunity for us to be engaged. So read folks' blogs. So Val was saying that she's got a great blog, she does. And so, check out folks' blogs. Just connect with each other and have that opportunity to engage. I think those are some really rare opportunities for us. My third tip is create a plan, right? So when I came to Pioneer, I moved into a new city and took a new job. And the first thing you do when you do that is you do some research and you try to make some friends, right? So think about that. And so what makes you different? So create the plan that differentiates you from the next person sitting next to you. Because I think that's so critical and so important as you think about what your plans are for social. And as a part of that, Val took it right out of my mouth, create an editorial calendar. And I think that's so important because I think the opportunity is that you can take an entire calendar and you can actually catalog all the things you want to talk about. It's so much easier to start with something rather than a blank canvas, right? So be able to share what you want to talk about throughout the next 12 months. I think that's a really nice chance for us to do. My fourth tip is to celebrate. I think a lot of the times we can easily bog ourselves down by, I've got to send this tweet out, and I've got to write this blog, and I've got to do this guest post, and I have to check my email, and I have to still go to all these meetings, and I've got to go to Ames for this conference, right? So there's a lot that we have to do. And so keep in mind that the first time you meet your first 100 followers, the first time you have your first blog post, your first comment on your first blog post, celebrate that. What a rare opportunity for us to be able to share something, right? And sometimes I've come into this where you go, hey, I just got my first post on social media today. And then the person sitting next to you goes, really? What does that mean? Right? Right? So what do we do? And so the best thing to do is there's someone sitting next to you today that you can celebrate with. And if you have an empty seat, then the next thing that you do is just send it out on Twitter or on Facebook or whatever platform you're using and say, hey, I got my first 100 followers today, and I'm super excited about it. And the thing is that we will hear you and we'll respond. And I think that is the best and most fun thing that you can do, is to be able to celebrate each other and your successes. And then my last piece really is the digital space continues to change over and over and over again. There are new platforms, there are new apps, there's always something new, and it is so exciting, right? It's always a chance to grow, it is always a chance to learn, it's always a chance to explore. And so as I leave you today, one of the biggest pieces that I urge for you, and it's a reminder for myself selfishly as well, is to continue to be passionately curious. Because at the end of the day, we really have a chance to be the voice for ag. And I didn't come from ag, but for me, the beautiful message of the things and the work that you're doing each and every single day is what keeps me going. And so stay passionately curious and have a great rest of the day. Thank you.